Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. If you are new, my name is Alexis and I share a lot of military content, motherhood, lifestyle, and all of the above. So if you like military content, Q&As, and story times, then stick around. Also, if you like the real deal on motherhood and all the things that have to do with motherhood, vlogs, hauls, traveling, moving often, since that happens a lot with me, and all that fun stuff, then stick around, hit the red subscribe button. I would love to have you part of this family. It helps me out a lot when you just hit that red subscribe button and turn it gray. And make sure your bell notifications are turned on so that way you can be notified every time I upload. I normally upload on Fridays and Mondays, but my schedule has been a little bit wonky just because I've been taking some personal time for me and the fam. But I normally upload on Mondays and Fridays, but in case I don't, you will be notified as soon as I upload. I am going to be answering a lot of your guys' questions today that you asked me over on Instagram. If you want to be part of one of these Military Monday Q&As, then make sure you follow me over on Instagram. I'll have it linked down below and up on the screen, and you can follow me there. I also share a lot of fun content over there, reels, and also a lot of a day in the life, normal everyday struggles that I go through. I share that all over there. So if you want the real, raw, unfiltered even more, head over to the Instagram. But I think I'm just answering questions today. I don't think I have any story times. I'll have to look. Let's see. Anyway, we're gonna jump into our first story time and then we will go over to the questions. When we were overseas, my husband got a new gunny who he really liked a lot. He was super chill and fun to hang out with. Everyone who worked with my husband was single. We were the only ones that had a house. So we would do little parties for the holidays, and we would also go out to dinner like with all the single Marines, including the gunny. In the States, that would be frowned upon because gunnies shouldn't hang out with the on a personal level with the lower enlisted, but it was normal overseas. So after about 5 months of him becoming gunny and hanging out with us a lot, we found out he was married and his wife lived with him. He was higher ranking, so he got a house even without being married, so no one knew. Weird, she never came to anything. We went to restaurants on base and his wife was our waitress, and we found out because her name tag had his last name. After she wrote me that story, I said, oh my gosh, that's so strange. And she said, this girl was my doppelganger, just taller and skinnier. My husband told him at work he saw her, and his gunny told him they were going through a divorce, which is why he never invited her to anything. After that, his gunny found me on Snapchat. Here we go. His gunny would send me Snapchats all the time, like normal conversations, would even send messages for my husband over there, all including a photo of himself. Mind you, I'm in my early 20s and this guy was in his late 30s. Maybe even early 40s. Then he started to flirt and my husband saw all of it, but it was his boss, so basically he wasn't gonna say anything. Things got bad with this guy. He would try to hug me and he would try to come over all the time to hang out. My husband would say that he would stare at me when I walked away and all this stuff. Cutting him off and stop answering his messages, which was only coming to me, not my husband. This guy ended up getting taken under investigation for sexual harassment by another Marine, and he asked me to be a witness for him, which I never replied to his message. Just super gross and horrible experience for me and my husband. Sorry so long, but he ended up getting kicked out of the military. Eek. Wow, that is crazy. It's weird that he didn't bring up his relationship, but they probably just wanted to keep it more private. Obviously, if they were having rough times, and if the guy was a weirdo, like, I just feel like there are so many sexual harassment stories that happen in the military. It's really unbelievable. With all of it, they should really be doing a lot more to protect certain people, but oh my gosh, that is wild. I can't believe the girl looks so much like you, and he probably obviously thought you were attractive because that was what his wife looked like. So wild that he never told you when you guys were friends for 5 months basically, and even weirder that he would message just you on Snapchat, because like if he wanted to hang out he should just message your husband. But anyway, that was really weird, and he got kicked out of the army in the end anyway. So thank you for sharing your story with me. I will make sure to share others. Just make sure you send them over to my Instagram. Now let's go over to my questions. I really like this question. So the first question is, how was your first year as a military wife? I think I saw that your husband is infantry. Mine is too. So my first year as a military wife was rough. Okay, so we got married and we moved to Colorado right away. We got an apartment and we were broke AF. So broke. Struggling hardcore. And we obviously never lived together. We like lived kind of at my mom's house for the last like 4 months before he left for basic, but like we never had to pay our own bills and had to like cook our own food all the time and go do our own grocery shopping. And so it was really hard on our relationship, and that was probably one of the lowest, like the first probably 3 years of our marriage was probably the lowest part of our marriage ever, and it was horrible. Honestly, it was horrible, and I'm sorry if I'm scaring anyone, but it's just a lot of changes. It's a lot of a new job with really strict rules. It's like very demanding, and then on top of it, if you've never lived together before, that's really hard. And balancing like being broke a lot, because the military does not pay great, especially if you are like going in fresh with no rank, and just managing it all, it's really difficult. And then on top of it, 6 months later, we found out we were pregnant with Victoria, and we did plan her pregnancy. We tried for her. Looking back, that probably wasn't the best idea. Just like, obviously I'm so grateful and thankful that she's here and we did it when we did, because I love being a young mom. But after 6 months of our marriage, like I feel like if we worked a little bit more on us, maybe 3 years after, like, you know, 2 years after she was born wouldn't have been so hard, and we maybe would have been able to save up some money. So if I could give you any advice, maybe it's just wait like a year into your marriage, maybe. Just save up some money. Kids are expensive. So yeah, the first year of being a military wife was a struggle. I literally went into it knowing absolutely nothing. It blows my mind that here I am today making videos for other military spouses, because I literally knew nothing. So if you feel like you know nothing, you are not alone, and I hope you find these videos and I help you just a little bit. But yeah, it wasn't easy. What's your reaction to the military branch's stereotypes? All good and fun. The military branch, well, I don't know. I mean, yeah, all good and fun. The military branch's stereotypes. So my husband's in the army, if you don't know. We enjoy the army, and my husband's a recruiter, so he's like hardcore and like telling people about the army. So I hear it nonstop about army and ways to get people into the army. And I think one of their really great qualities, honestly, not to be biased, for the army is out of all the other branches, it's the only one that you can actually pick your job. A lot of the other branches like the Navy, the Marines, the Air Force, all those things. Maybe the Air Force you can pick your job, but I know that the Army is one of the only ones, from what I hear from my husband every single day of his life, that can actually pick their job. Usually when you sign up for the Marines, they're like, okay, here's the slot available, here you go, you're taking this. Like, you don't go in as like my husband went into the Army as infantry. Like, he wanted to be infantry, he signed his contract for infantry, and he will stay infantry until, like, obviously if he wants to switch over or whatever. But that's what I think is really awesome about the Army. And I don't know if that's really what you were asking. I don't think it was. But my thoughts on the other stereotypes of the branches are, obviously, I'm an Army girl. I love the Army because, you know, we're in it. But definitely the Navy would have been, like, my husband wanted to be in the Navy and the Marines, but it just didn't work out for him because, you know, certain scores, and also like you can't pick your job, so he didn't really want to do that. I think the Air Force is amazing for family and benefits. I mean, all of the military is great for benefits, but the Air Force really takes care of families and is very family oriented. So if you can go for the Air Force, you should, because they're definitely more relaxed in that sense from what I hear. But I've never been there. I never lived that life, so I honestly couldn't tell you. But those are my thoughts on the stereotypes of the military branches. Hello, my question is, how long did it take for you to get BAH? So I So my husband went to Deers as soon as we got to our first duty station. He went and like did all the things that you have to do when you first get to your new duty station, or your first duty station especially. You know, want to bring your marriage license, show all that stuff, dependents, like all the things, birth certificates, all that stuff. And usually in the first week or two, they get and turn in all those papers, and so it can be processed through. And so, I mean, I would say within the next month, you should be getting it, and like reimbursement as far as if you moved yourselves, or just reimbursement for travel. But you should get it within the next month or two. But I would say the first month, especially if you are moving on to the base, I think that if you are moving on to the base, they will take care of you and have a little bit more understanding, because they know how the military works and how they can be a little slow. But yeah, I've heard so many horror stories with BAH, especially recently. I just feel like because a lot's going on, it's been really difficult. For some reason, they can't like figure it out. So I've heard a lot of horror stories about BAH, and I would just like, if you're not getting it yet, like go in guns blazing and just like try to figure it out on your own, or have your you know, whoever's in the military go to their like chain of command and try to figure it out, because you do not want to be out without BAH. I know a lot of people are right now though without it, because I don't know, they can't get their you know what together. So I'm sorry if you're struggling with that. I hope it gets fixed for you, and I hope like you get it quick, but you're not alone, because I've gotten so many messages about this, like that they haven't got their BAH, or it's taking so and so amount of months or whatever. So you're not alone, and I hope it gets fixed for you, and I hope you get it ASAP. But for us personally, we got it within like a month, I'd say, maybe 2 most, but I think it was like about a month. Your husband is gone for lengthy training deployment. Does he seem off when he gets home? Yeah, he definitely doesn't seem like in the groove of what he would normally be. So I'm home, you know, doing it all, doing all the things, doing the groceries, taking the kids here, doing this with the kids, doing bedtime, da da da. And I feel like that's something that I personally, even recently, have struggled with, like expecting when he comes home that him to be basically like how I've been this whole time, when it's, you know, you're kind of out of whack. You've been gone for a while. You don't really like remember the, you know, steps of bedtime, or the, you know, everything that needs to happen right away. So definitely give him grace, and kind of just remember that, just have lower expectations. Don't just remember that he's not you, and he's not gonna do it exactly like you. But I don't know if that's what you mean, like with the kids and all that, but yeah, they definitely can be off because they've been with a bunch of guys, or maybe a bunch of girls, or whatever they're doing. They've just been like hardcore doing whatever they do in the military, and they haven't had to, you know, listen to their wife, or they haven't had to cook dinner because they're probably eating MREs. They haven't had to be in a routine basically. So it's just hard for them to adjust, I think, sometimes. So sometimes just give them a little bit of time, and they should, but definitely like communication, they haven't like probably talked to, I mean, they definitely haven't talked to you in a while, unless it was just over the phone, but like physical interaction and stuff. So just give him some time. He will adjust, but it's totally normal. It happens pretty much every single time that he would come home from the field or a deployment or something like that. It's definitely not exactly how it was when he left. Obviously, he has to get back into the groove. If your husband is re-enlisting, do you get to choose where to PCS next, like make a list? So it's so funny. We were just talking about this today. So we currently live in New Jersey, and my husband got picked up for a broadening assignment is what it would be called. And so he's doing recruiting. So he's doing an assignment that the military made him do. He didn't pick this. He was selected to do recruiting. So after this, we should get a say of where we want to go, but the military changes their mind at the drop of a hat, and if they need you somewhere, you'll be there. Let me back up real quick. So we got to our first duty station in Colorado, and we were there for 3 years, and then he actually did get to pick where we went next. And they normally, when you're coming up on your time, they have this thing called an AKO. I know all these military terms, really strange. I don't even know how I can keep up. But anyway, they get this thing called an AKO, and they can go to retention, and they can kind of see their options within like within a year of their contract, I believe, or maybe 6 months of their contract like ending. They can go to retention and kind of see their options. So they'll get a list of like what's available, and then say there's nothing that they're interested in, they can come back next month. Just don't wait till the last minute till your time is up, because if you don't pick, if you get the option, the military will pick for you. So sometimes you do get a say, sometimes you don't. It just really depends, but you usually get a, like, you don't get to make a list, but you can kind of pick from their options that they have. So we could have either went to Germany, Georgia, there were some other ones, but we were between Germany and Georgia, and we ended up in Georgia. And then here we didn't get a say, but next time we should get a say. But honestly, who knows, because it's the military and we really sometimes don't get a say. How do you plan when your husband may have a deployment for 6 months? Girl, you don't plan in the military. You're a military spouse, you don't planning. Just put that in the back seat, because it's very difficult. You know, if you're trying to go on a little vacation, you know, you can plan it, but if it has to get canceled, you know what? The military can get you out of so many things. All you have to do is show them your orders. Say that you scheduled a plane ticket, a trip to Disney, and hotel. All you have to do is say, here is my husband's orders, sorry, and they will, you know, they'll sweep it under the rug basically, and probably get you should get your money back, because that's something you can't control. And a lot of people are way more forgiving to the military, people in the military. So book that flight, do it. If you're unsure and you might not know, book it, do it, because especially in times like this, and especially with him being in the military, as soon as he gets orders for deployment, you just show it to them and you'll probably get your money back. So you can get out of a lot of things with those orders. You can get out of a rental house, you can get out of, you know, a lease basically. You can get out of so much stuff. Plane tickets, I'm sure, you know, hotels, I'm sure. So just show them your orders if that comes up, and I'm sure you'll be good to go. This time here, is it better to live on or off post? We have 2 kids. Heard officer housings are better. So as an officer, I would think just live off. I mean, depends on the area. If you feel comfortable in the area, or if you're familiar with the area, then definitely, I mean, the officer housings normally on the bases are gorgeous. They're really nice. At Benning, I want to say that some were a little outdated, but they were really cute and nice. And you get like, at least at Benning, they had like really cute yards, and their houses were really cute at Benning. So, I always say this, for your first duty station, I always recommend living on the base. More for people that have never, like, just got married, you know, about to have kids, like very new, because it's very much of a babysitting experience, because, you know, your payment for your house, for your rent, gets taken out automatically. You don't have to deal with that. Most times your water's included, trash, all that's normally included. You normally just have to pay for cable if you want that, or whatever. So that's why I always recommend living on the base for your first duty station, especially if you're newly married. That's why I always recommend it. But if he's an officer, then honestly, you probably get a good amount of BAH. So I would live off the base if you're familiar with the area, or if you're comfortable with the area, thinking that you can find a cute little house. You always have that VA loan, so you can buy a house and then, you know, sell it when you leave and buy another house wherever you go next. I was under the impression that you could only use the VA loan one time, but you can use it multiple. So it's really up to your discretion, but I always say live on the base, at least for the first year, just to get to know your surroundings. And with kids, it's really nice because they have a lot of schools on the base, and so it's very close, you're comfortable, you know that you're kind of like in a gated community in a way. So that's why I always recommend living on the base, especially for the first year, just to get to know your surroundings. But totally up to you, girl. Best advice for a military girlfriend who is pregnant and going through the first deployment. Oh my gosh, that's so hard. I'm so sorry that you have to go through that. Just, you know, try to keep in contact with your spouse as much as you can. Just hang in there. That does suck though, that you can't get like benefits as far as like, you know, for the baby, when the baby's born, if the baby's gonna be born while your spouse is deployed. That's really unfortunate. But I think that it would be after the baby would be born, but I think that you can enroll the baby in DEERS once the baby is born with the birth certificate, like if he turns in the birth certificate, which will be very difficult probably for him overseas. But you do want to do that though, because you want to have the benefits at least for the baby. You probably will not have the birth covered for you because you're not married, but definitely once the baby is born, I would recommend giving the birth certificate to him to get that endears, because it is a dependent for him and he will be able to get like medical and insurance for the baby. So highly recommend that. But I'm sorry that you're going through that, and just hang in there, girl. I hope it'll be over for you soon, and I hope that he can be there for the birth. I don't know, you didn't say if he's gonna make it home, but I hope he can, and hang in there. It's really hard to try to distract yourself by buying cute baby things and just enjoying your pregnancy, sending baby bump pictures to him or whatever it is. Just try and embrace it and enjoy it, and enjoy the little moments for yourself, and also capture them for your spouse. How do you deal with your first duty station and learning how to live on the military base? That is such a good question. So when we first got to our first duty station, we didn't live on the base. We lived in an apartment. And I feel like that's why I stress sometimes so hard to live on the military base, because I think we would have been a little bit better off if we did. And I may have felt more comfortable and just like, you know, more in my element. So we didn't live on the base our first duty station. The first 2 years, and then the third year that we were there, we actually did move on to the base. And it is difficult. Like, you're like, what? I have to give my ID, and you have to do all these certain things, and they all have their certain rules and speed limits on the base, and it can be really difficult. But once your significant other is in the military for a while, like for like at least like a month or two, like they'll know all the rules, and then they can like repeat them to you. Hopefully, I hope they do. But also, I always say this, and I feel like some of you are like, all right, Alexis, we get it. Go to FRG meetings. There are wives there and spouses there that have been doing this for so long, and I hope and pray for you that they're helpful at these meetings for you, because they can be so beneficial for someone who is new. So as soon as your significant other gets to that unit that he or she is in, then make sure that you ask him to ask about the FRG. And if they have one, ask if you can give your email or your phone number and be a part of it, because being in that group, in that loop, or even on the Facebook page will help you with wonders, because you can just write on the Facebook page like, hey, like, where can I take my kid? Where's the dentist? Where's the doctor? Where do you guys go? And they can all help you on there, and I really hope that they're helpful. So I would highly recommend joining the FRG, or not joining, you don't join, but like just like being involved in it, and asking your spouse like kind of the rules, because there is some weird rules that come up and you're like, what? Especially like when you go to the commissary, it's kind of weird. I know some place, I've had so many controversial things with this, and I know this is getting lengthy, but I'm gonna try to spit it out quickly. I feel like this is good information though. When I first went to the commissary when we were in Colorado, I didn't realize that the people just like try to take your stuff right away and take it out, and they expect a tip. But us new military wives, we can't afford to tip. I can hardly afford the groceries I just got. I'm maybe using the military star card, which I do not recommend getting. I may be using the military star card on those groceries. So do you think that I can really afford to tip? And I know that sounds horrible, but it's real life and the struggles, and honestly they should know, because it's not like when you're newly in the military, or even a lot in the military, you don't make a lot of money, especially if you have some debt acquired. Like, you need to pay that off, plus like if you have kids and all the things, like it can be really hard and stressful, and getting groceries and then worrying about having to tip the freaking person can be so stressful and make you not even want to go to the commissary. And that was my problem. I didn't want to go because I felt obligated, and they just take their groceries right away and like take them in their cart. And so I would always say, can you put them back in my buggy? Can you put them back in my cart? And then you take your own groceries out, because that way you don't feel obligated. There's no pressure for that, and you can feel like, I can get my groceries and move on. So that is just a random little tip that I feel like would have been really helpful for me, that I had to like come up with after a couple trips to the commissary. But that's just one, but I'm sure that your spouse will fill you in on all the other rules, like as far as, you know, your ID when you go into the base, or where the hospital is, or the rules or regulations on all that stuff. But also joining the Facebook page and becoming, just like being involved in the FRG. My husband proposed to me over text message, someone said. Wow, well that is just the sweetest. I think she was setting that in as a story time. That is just, oh my gosh. Well, my engagement was literally, you know, only 3 days before my marriage, so it's okay, you know, it happens. Have you lived on post? All this talk about drama and it's like high school has me, that's what's the emoji she put. I know it can really scare you and it can be a little dramatic, but if you just keep to yourself and like do your own thing, you'll be fine. You will be fine, honestly. Like, if you don't give in to the little Facebook group pages of the neighborhood, you'll be good. And you know, make friends, be friendly. And as far as like having to keep your house a certain way, they're really not super strict. They obviously, like, some places are different, but they like your flower beds nice and like, you know, your yard not full of toys, but other than that, you'll be good. I highly recommend living on base for your first duty station, or at least until your spouse ranks up a little bit so you can pocket that BAH. But yeah, I know it can be a little scary and a little intimidating, but you'll be just fine. Just don't engage in it. Just don't even bother with it. First deployment tips. So I will put in the iCards right here, or right here, I don't know which way it pops up on, up there somewhere. I will put in the iCards my deployment tips. I say them almost in every video, but I have a whole dedicated video to, I don't remember exactly what it's called, but something about dealing with deployment or how to deal with it or something like that. So check that video out and it will give you all of my tips, because I do not want to reiterate it for everyone that's been watching my videos for every single Monday. But definitely check out that video, and I'll also have it linked down below if you missed the iCard or you're watching it on your TV or something and you can't click on it. So I'll have it linked down below and you can check out that video and I fill you in on all my little personal tips. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you did enjoy, if you like Military Mondays, and I will see you guys in my next one. Also, don't forget to share this video with your military spouses or new military spouses on your military spouse Facebook pages, all those things, because these videos can help so many people, and that's what I'm doing this for, to help others. So make sure that you share this video. It helps me out a ton and I know it will help others out a zillion. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next one.